Okay, we're back up again. This is part 2 of the Djinn. So Morehouse was accidentally shot in the helmet, which left a huge lump on his head. After this, he temporarily experienced seeing the elusive Djinn. He described the condition as sometime in the night my eyes opened to a surreal light outside the tent. It was like the light of an eclipsed sun and wasn't coming from any stove. It filled the night sky. The entire valley and the hills beyond were bathed in a strange bluish-gray light. I walked to the edge of the bluff and stared into the valley. Dark figures moved effortlessly across its floor like apparitions. They poured from the rocks in various heaps and shapes and moved about the cluster of tent. I could hear muffled cries from the Jordanian encampment, and momentarily I thought we were being overrun by thieves or Israelis. Panicked, I turned to run for help, colliding with one of the figures. I reflexively closed my eyes, except I didn't collide. I walked right through it. Turning around, I watched the figure disappear over the edge of the bluff. After that, the lump on my head was gone, and so was the apparitions of seeing them. I hope that my internet stays up, and if it doesn't, I will just start over, or not start over, I'll just pick up where I left off with part 3, so just hang in there. Or you can wait until after the show is done and listen to the archive, your choice. Jinn were on the earth before man, but it is unknown for how long. By some accounts, they created 2,000 years before Adam and Eve and were equal to angels in stature. And it could have even been longer. This is the information I got, was 2,000 years before. When Allah created Adam, he told the angels to bow to him. The angels complied, but now they say, and this one, it says, Iblis, the leader of the Jinn. Okay, Iblis is Satan, or Satan, all right? So don't get confused there. When Allah created Adam, he told the angels to bow there. The angels complied, but the leader of the Jinn, who also had access to heaven, because now the Jinn could go to heaven, back and forth to heaven, to earth, or wherever. So man never did have access to heaven, except maybe like Enoch and certain selected few, Krishna, whatever. But anyhow, so they were able to go back and forth, communicate with the angels and with God, apparently. But when they refused, he and his kind were cast out of paradise. Iblis appears to Allah, and the Jinn were granted the opportunity to redeem themselves by Judgment Day. I believe that it is in this story that that's where we've learned of the fallen angels. But they still have a chance to redeem themselves. So I feel that if God hasn't judged them, we shouldn't be superior to God and judge them. That is for God to do, and that will happen. Their time given was by Judgment Day. The Jinn's encounter occur everywhere, and they may be interpreted as other entities rather than their true selves. This is especially the case in areas where little is known about them. Encounters with angels, fairies, demons, elemental, extraterrestrial, mysterious creatures, and ghosts of dead may be Jinn in disguise, either playing tricks or carrying out an agenda. Or not. Okay? It could be. So you got to be careful on it. Don't jump to conclusions too quickly. In the book of Enoch, I found passages that support my theory of the Jinn, being that we biblically refer to them as the fallen angels. To tangle the web even more, the fallen angels, or Jinn, were also given the name Watchers. And now that takes you into Anunnaki. That takes you into Sumerian history, UFOs, aliens. It happened, chapter 7 in Enoch, I believe it is, 1, it happened after the sons of men had multiplied in those days that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. Yes, this is from the book of Enoch. And when the angels, the Son of Heaven, beheld them, They became enamored of them, saying to each other, "Come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of man, and let us beget children." This and all can be found in my book, Red-Haired Giants, and also how the red-haired giants were Jinn, or well, were the product of the Jinn and women of Earth mating. So Mary's note, Aramaic text reads watchers here. M.T. Millick, this comes from J.T. Millick, Aramaic fragments of the Qumran cave. Biblically, they are referred to as angels. The Aramaic fragments reference them as watchers. In the following, we find Samyaza, same one, just different name. But the leader of the Jinn had rebelled against God. If you read any books on Jinn, you will realize that this name Samyaza is named as the leader of the Jinn. Samyaza was later known in the Christian Bible as Satan. The following explains the Jinn's rebellion against God and their fall from grace. Then their leader Samyaza said to them, "I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the permanence of this enterprise, and that I alone shall suffer for so grievous a crime." But they answered him and says, "We all swear and bind ourselves by mutual execration that we will not change our intention but execute our projected undertaking." Then they swore all together, and all bound themselves by mutual execration. Their whole number was 200, who descended upon Ardis, which is on the top of Mount Armon. Upon Ardis, or in the days of Jared, which you find in the book of Enoch. Then they took wives, each chosen for himself, when they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. And the women conceived forth giants. The Greek text varies considerably from the Ethiopic text here. One Greek manuscript adds to their section, "And they, the women, bore to them, the watchers, 3 races. First the great giants. The giants brought forth, some say slew, the Nephilim. And the Nephilim brought forth, or slew, the Eloid. And they existed, increasing in power according to their greatness." And you can see this account in the Book of Jubilees. As you can see, I kind of went through a lot of sources to find all this. But going back into the Book of Enoch, the Quran, or not from the text found in the Qumran, whose stature were each 300 cubits. These devoured all which the labor of men produced until it became impossible to feed them. If I lose the connection, just know that I will start back up again for part 3. When they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fishes, to eat their flesh one after another, and to drink their blood, their flesh one after another, or again by another. The Jinn in UFO research. Aside from reasoning that other conscious beings must exist in this seemingly infinite universe, and that many have capacity to visit Earth, we should avoid assumptions about the nature of extraterrestrials. However, we can and should examine the likelihood that deceptive entities known as the Jinn have also been masquerading as them. John Keel called them ultra-terrestrials. Meade Lane knew them as Etherans. Gordon Creighton introduced them to the Western world with the ancient and well-known name of Jinn. They also been known as spirits, poltergeists, alien, and elementals. It is important to know about them. It's absolutely essential to rule them out whenever considering the possible existence and or presence of the extraterrestrial, because they are also the world's greatest tricksters, and their ET charade may be the world's greatest hoax. This is what some people think. I say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They have thoroughly contaminated our thinking about extraterrestrials. Some among them pretend to be the embodiments of our science fiction fantasies. Some among them are good, while others are demonic. The most powerful we call genie, which original from the word genius. The Djinn concept offers a comprehensive and logical approach to looking at UFOs, cryptozoology, apparitions, magic, demon sponsors, and many other mysteries. But it is irrelevant, or it is relevant for exposing much of the simple-minded games and mischief which have been baffled and misled us throughout history. Ignorance and prejudice have prevented the Western world from realizing what the wisdom of the Islamic culture has to say about these beings. It reads like a textbook description of the UFO phenomena. It reveals the true nature of the New Age channeling, poltergeist, spoon bending, and other tricks, and so much more. Gordon Creighton has enlightened us with a brilliant essay which deserves serious attention. It is called A Brief Account of the True Nature of the UFO Entities. Gordon Creighton served as a British intelligence officer, and his familiarity with Oriental cultures enabled him to recognize the connection between the Djinn and UFOs. The Djinn are real entities living on this earth which are normally invisible to us. Their bodies are likely composed of what has been described as etheric matter. They don't live in bottles or adhere to fairy tales told about them. Human beings are extremely susceptible to the fabrication of the Djinn. When we believe that they want us to, because their impressive materialism and deception are tailored to fit our fantasies and belief system. Their comparative mastery of etheric forces bewilders and impresses us, and has always put us at a severe disadvantage in dealing with them. The more skilled among them have therefore always seemed to us to be gods and wizards. Now in modern times they become the aliens from technologically advanced civilizations. They are usually deceptive in their relationships with us. They are movers behind the UFO mystery as well as many other mysteries. Every culture shows the deep and massive imprint of their influence in our religion and mythology. Among all the theories presented to account for the presence of alien beings such as intergalactic travel, travel from the future, travel from the inner earth, and archetypal projections from the collective unconsciousness, very little consideration is given to the concept that some of them simply exist on the earth in a way that isn't generally perceptible to us. We continue to assume that we can perceive everything that is real with our five senses, despite all the evidence of the contrary. An overzealous belief in the science and philosophy of materialism has probably resulted in an irrational amount of faith in our physical senses. Studying and or experiencing these Djinn enables a person to accept their existence. Once it is realized that unseen beings do exist, it is fascinating to contemplate that there are likely to be inhabitants on our planets who are as hidden to us as the Djinn are. So much life is crammed into a single cubic inch of backyard soil that it is unlikely that the potential inherent in a whole planet is just wasted. Our ego, gotta have it on my terms, and seeing it with my bare eyes mindset has probably been the biggest impediment to advances in scientific knowledge. Before the invention of the microscope, science denied the existence of microbes. Even though we can't see radio waves, we know they exist. Now we should realize we aren't likely to find life on other planets as long as we insist that it must be just our life and apparent to our five senses. The Djinn concept challenges us to realize how limited our perceptions are. Things really don't work quite the way we think they do. Life is an ever-deepening mystery. Most of us are comfortable with making that a part of our working hypothesis, but our explorations will be enriched and strengthened if we do. This was an article I wrote, and much of this information is in my book, The Red-Haired Giants. Thank you, Aiden. This is part 2. We didn't have to go into a part 3. But I'm leaving that as is today. This was a live stream by Mary Sutherland on the elusive Djinn. A fascinating subject. Thank you for joining me, and I'll hopefully talk to you tomorrow. And, well, maybe not. It's July 4th, but July 5th. But have a safe 4th of July weekend. And we'll get back to reading cards and that after the 4th, okay? Thank you for listening to me. Make sure you buy my books. If you're interested in the red-haired giants, I do have a book, Red-Haired Giants, along with many others. You can find my books at burlingtonnews.net/books. You order through there, you get an autographed book. But you can also find my books at Amazon.com or Amazon, through Barnes and Noble, any local bookstore. And again, have a very safe weekend. And I'll see you next time around. And have fun with those Djinn. And study, learn, because remember, knowledge is power. This is Mary Sutherland. Bye, guys.